everyone. Welcome to today's Google Plus Hangout featuring Zachary Levi from Nerd Machine. Give it up for Zachary.
Hey, that's me.
We're so excited to hear about Zach's plans for this year's Comic-Con Nerd HQ, which we've been part of here at What's Trending, and how all of you fans can get involved with the I Want My Nerd HQ campaign right now. We also have some fans joining us here in the chat room. We have Pilar Clark from One Mom Media. Say hi, Pilar.
Hello.
We have Kristen Kirk from DVC Mom.
Hi.
Hi. Dan Morris, Blogging Concentrated.
Woohoo!
Yeah, represent. Jill Swenson from Being Spiffy.
What's up?
There you go. So we'll be taking your questions, and also all of you watching live in this Google Plus Hangout, just put those questions in the chat room, and we'll be asking those as well because we want to hear from you. That's what it's all about. So thanks, Zach, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, heck yeah. I love this kind of stuff. I love talking to people, and I love technology. So to talk to people through technology is a win-win.
Awesome. Well, we've been involved with Nerd HQ before at Comic-Con with Trending. We've had huge celebrities there. Such a great time. Tell us about what you guys have planned this year with the I Want My Nerd HQ campaign. Why you decide to start all of this?
Excellent question. So I've been trying to answer that very question for a little while now. But essentially, what it came down to was, you know, every year leading up to this, the first 3 years we did the event when we did Nerd HQ, I was always going after sponsorship dollars in order to fund the whole thing. But sponsorship, and we essentially succeeded in that, except for last year, last minute, I had the rug kind of pulled out from under me. But my intention was always to just do it with sponsorship dollars. But there's very specific qualifications with that. In that sponsor money doesn't typically come in until much closer to the event, if not sometimes after the event, much to our chagrin, because we have to, you know, basically I've already started putting money down on the venue at Petco Park, you know, that was in February. I needed to start doing that, and starting to pay production staffs and teams and to design and build out ultimately what will be the event, and that all happens months and months in advance to doing something like Nerd HQ, which for anybody who's been there or if you've seen any of the panels that we do, it's very intricate, it's very complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people that need to be taken care of in order to pull off an event like that. So because the first 2 years we lost a little money, it wasn't that bad, but you know, I always kind of looked at it like, look, it's a business investment. I mean, I believe in the Nerd Machine and I believe in Nerd HQ for reasons far beyond even business. I really believe in it, in what it provides the fans and celebrities during that weekend down in San Diego. I am there firsthand, and I witnessed the power of it, and I feel very blessed to be a part of it and to be a steward of it, and then beyond that, with the nonprofit connection that we have as well. So for me, you know, obviously there's a business component of it, of wanting to have a viable business, and ultimately, hopefully, one day we will be in the black and not in the red. But the reason I've continued to do it every year mainly is because I feel compelled to keep making people happy, and I've said this many times before, but you know, look, we're not guaranteed another day of life on this earth, and the more that you can at least try, you know, there's going to be critics and there's going to be people who don't get it or don't believe it or whatever, but if you know that it's been put on your heart and on your mind to go and accomplish something because you know that it's bringing joy to people in the world, then you go for it. So because the sponsorship model wasn't super conducive to us being able to accomplish that goal, I was then kind of back to the drawing board, and I was like, well, I'm going to need money to give to Petco Park and to give to certain vendors and production staffs and whatnot. How do I do that without losing my ass again, like I did last year? Because it was, I don't want to go into specifics, but needless to say, it was enough for me to not, I can't weather that storm again. So I was like, how do I do this? And then we were all kind of sitting around just having a conversation about Nerd HQ, and I thought, you know what, it'd be kind of interesting and fun to just see if I could get my friends to get I Want My Nerd HQ hashtag trending, and then we did that, and it was like wildfire. And then based on that, I thought, well, why don't we try and do this as a crowdfunding thing? I mean, the reality is what we're offering people is something that nobody else is offering, and I feel like it's worth at least $5 if we can provide them these panels. If nothing else, we're providing them 20-plus hours of these fan-driven, solely fan-driven Q&As, and nobody does that. And we do it in a way that's super off the cuff and completely shoot from the hip, like, you know, it's just some crazy stuff that happens on our stage every year, and it's magical. And so I felt like and that's why I only ask people for $5. If people want to give more, like I say in the video, I'm more than happy to receive that and put that toward the cause. But I don't like breaking anybody's bank. I didn't even want to ask anybody for money to begin with. I wanted to just keep sponsoring it, but I knew that I couldn't, so I was looking for alternatives, and I felt like this one might be the one to do, you know, and that's why we decided to do the Indiegogo I Want My Nerd HQ crowdfund campaign, and that's why, you know, I'm out trying to answer any questions or quell any concerns that anybody has, and because I know there have been some. I'm on social media all the time. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook, and I see people that have concerns. I see people with you know who write certain articles about it and that hit me. You know, I'm like, wow, that's what they think I am, and that's what they think I'm trying to do. That sucks. How do I reach out to these people and try and just get truth out there? Because I've got nothing to hide. I really want to just make the best event for my business, for the celebrities, and for the fans. That also happens to be bigger than all of us and go raise money for Operation Smile. So that was the very long-winded answer of
I was letting you go. No, because I mean, people don't realize it's so much more intimate than if you go to the convention center and like go to Comic-Con, which is huge and it's hard to get tickets. They're expensive. You could buy a ticket and be part of this, and then you go, and it's so much more special and closed, and you're much more up close with your favorite stars, and you're part of like a little movement, which is awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, look, basically, you know, Nerd HQ started out of me trying to find a cool way to activate the Nerd Machine, and the Nerd Machine came out of, I just looked at nerd culture and I was like, why don't we just have our own brand? Like, there was all these like random one-off T-shirts and things about like if you're a Whovian or if you're a Chuck fan or whatever, but I wanted to have like one, like, you know, Nike for nerds. I wanted to have an apparel brand. And I thought that could be a cool business, and it's also kind of satisfying a need in this culture that I identify with. So then I was like, well, how do I activate that during that weekend in San Diego? And that's when my brain, my kind of Willy Wonka mad scientist brain, that doesn't always spit out great ideas, but I feel like occasionally I'll have something that's inspired, and I feel like God's like, hey, why don't you do this? And I go, hey, that's a good one, thanks a lot. And then I was like, why don't we do this thing? Because I was going down to the con for 5 years, and there were so many cool things about it, but there was also things that I would go, I really would like to interact with my fans in a slightly more intimate way, or at the very least, I'd like for them to have more time to ask questions. Every year, they would have maybe 5 minutes, and sometimes they wouldn't have any time at all. And I just was like, I don't like that. I want to be able to, and I think maybe perchance there are other celebrities that feel the same way, where we could just have an hour, where we could just give them, the fans, an hour to just ask whatever the heck they want. And as long as you kind of like keep it cool and there's some safety and boundary to it, like, it's amazing what happens. The fact that Nathan Fillion, who is just such a mensch and such a great dude and has become such a brother of mine, like, the very first year I did it, I said, would you do this? And he's like, I'm totally in. And that he's been there every year. Wow. And specifically, that's like kind of all he wants to do now. And he goes and does like auctions. He auctions off crap out of a bag. And I go, you're awesome. This is exactly everything I wanted this to be. When Matt Smith, who's become a brother of mine, when he and Arthur and Karen all sit down and do a Doctor Who panel, and they just bust into Bohemian Rhapsody just to do it. That's what it was all about. When some fan asks Tom Hiddleston to start doing impressions, and he happens to impersonate me and Chris Evans and a Velociraptor all in one setting, that's what Nerd HQ is all about. And the fact that, again, and by the way, like the live streaming, I never understood why nobody else was doing this. Like, when you have a panel and you have giant celebrities that are answering questions of a moderator or fans or whatever, why not stick a camera in the back so that people in Istanbul can actually watch what's going on? I just didn't understand that, and I wanted to change that. So Nerd HQ to me was, a way to activate my brand and do good as a businessman. It was a way to bring fans and celebrities together in ways that I felt like were just kind of missing, and I felt like could be really cool and powerful. And I wanted to make sure that every time we were bringing fans and celebrities together, that it was that those interactions all went towards something that was bigger, and that's where the nonprofit angle came in, you know. And again, and I've said this before, but to clear up, Nerd HQ. It never was, and never will be. I don't know. Maybe it will be at some point, but it was never started to be a nonprofit event. I've never said, hey, every penny goes toward charity. But I feel like, why not, with any business, why not also have a nonprofit component where everyone just feels better about the money that they spend somewhere, you know? And I didn't want.
You raised over $400,000.
What's that?
Raised how much at this point through the Nerd HQ?
To date, over the first 3 years, we raised $415,000, and that was epic, because the first year we didn't even know what the hell we were doing. We were just like, it was all a big experiment. I was like, I really hope this works. I hope this doesn't blow up in my face, and it didn't. And you know, when I tell you what, when the owners and waiters and bartenders and people running your photo booth and like at the end of the event, the very first year, every single person that worked the event, we all everyone was like almost in tears. Like it was like you could feel the power of making people happy. There is nothing, I won't say there's nothing, but there's almost nothing more powerful than just bringing a smile to somebody's face and touching their life and touching their life and giving them acknowledgement and saying, hey, you're worthy, you're valuable, I want to give you something. And every single person, like everyone who worked at Joltin' Joe's that first year, they were like, we've never done an event like this, and we all feel so great. And they were like handing out shots, and we all did like a shot together to toast what a powerful weekend it was. And I knew right then, even though I made no money, I was like, I can't not do this again. And after the second year, I felt I can't not do this again. And after the third year, I felt I can't not do this again. It's just way too much fun. It totally drains the life out of me, but it also fills me with nothing but life. I have no voice at the end of 4 days, but I'll give everything I can because I just believe in it that much.
That's awesome. So, well, speaking of bringing people together, we do have some fans here who are lucky enough to join us on this Google Plus Hangout. Let's get some questions from them going, starting with Jill. What's your question today for Zach?
Okay, Zach, since you're hosting this, I want to know what makes you a nerd.
Oh, that's an excellent question. So first, let me just preface that at the Nerd Machine, from the beginning, I've always wanted to have, you know, a couple different mission statements, I suppose, but one of them is redefining what we even call a nerd, because I really do believe that, to me, I would like everyone to identify with something nerdy about them, because I think we all have something that we're nerdy about, because I think that being nerdy just means you're super passionate about something, so much so that it defines you as a person, at least in part. So I'll say that first. My nerdiness happens to fall well within the realm of the stereotypical nerdiness. I mean, I grew up reading a lot of comic books and playing a lot of video games, and being infatuated with technology. I'm terrified of technology, by the way. I am fascinated, I am in love with, and I am terrified by technology all at the same time. I feel like we are not too far off if we don't check ourselves from being ruled by our own robot overlords. So I think that's a little terrifying. I do think that, like, as amazing as like Twitter and Facebook and all these things, text messaging and all these things that we have now, it's really crazy to look at how it's affecting how we communicate as human beings and how it's adding to that conversation, and also how it's detracting from like just spending time with someone one-on-one and looking them in the eye and talking to them like a human being. But I also believe that, look, technology is kind of like, it's explosive and it is exponential as it grows. So you can't stop the bum rush. I mean, it's happening, so just embrace it. So I'm most nerdy about technology, I suppose, because that's what I'm most passionate about, and just how it's continuing to shape our culture and our beings. But then I really, taking that to a next step, I'm mostly nerdy within technology about how it connects with entertainment, probably because, you know, I work in entertainment and I have such a heart for it. But I really want to lead a charge in that. I want to be on the front lines and the tip of a spear of, as we kind of dive into bringing entertainment and technology together in all the most cool and interactive ways, where, you know, you're watching a movie on whatever your device is going to be, and you were able to buy that directly from the people that you wanted to buy it from, and while you're watching it, you can like scroll over stuff, and like if you were watching an episode of Chuck and you're like, oh, what car is that, and you just scroll, you can just like your eye, maybe it distracts your eye, and your eye looks at it, and it knows exactly, oh, you're looking at that Toyota Matrix that he's driving, and hyperlink gets saved to your little cache, and like all that stuff. Like my mind can't stop thinking about that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm most nerdy about. And then probably like video games like right under that. But that also kind of ties into entertainment as well. I really want to make like interactive entertainment. I've talked about this at Nerd HQ before, but I want to make a show that is also a game. I want to be the first one to do that. Even though it's kind of been done in weird ways before, but not exactly the way that I feel like would be the most interactive or advantageous. So that's what I'm most nerdy about. Excellent question, Joe.
That's a great answer. Now we're going to go to Dan. We have so many questions coming in right now. Dan?
Hey.
Hey.
So, I got a 12 and 8-year-old here. 10. Dude, my dude's 10. I thought he was 8.
Welcome.
So, these guys, they can play Minecraft all the time. Like, they're just into the stuff. So my question is, like, I want to tell them, like, get off the computer and get outside and play. Right. At the same time, there's a lot of value, like he's building the Eiffel Tower on Minecraft.
Yeah.
Then the question is, where should, as a dad, where should I help foster their interests so they can remain smart nerds and not just geeks? But where's it going? What should I have them get into?
Oh man, that's an excellent question. Fortunately and unfortunately, I'm not a father yet, so it's very difficult for me to. I do want to be a dad one day, and I've been thinking about that kind of stuff myself. Like, where's that line of how do you correctly foster the conversation with your kids about embracing the future? Because I don't think it's smart that if again, I really like technology, so I'm a little biased, but this is the way the world is going. So I don't think it's incredibly advantageous to be a super analog parent. I just don't. I think that there's something that's kind of pure about it, or at least I understand why people make the argument of, I'm going to force my kids to go do these things, and then everyone else actually understands how to use a computer, in 5 years, and the kids are like, I don't know how to do my homework anymore. Because, look, the reality is I don't know how long we're going to have actual books or pens and paper. By the way, that could be 20 years from now when it gets phased out. It could be 5. I really don't know. I think that we need to be ready to embrace whatever the next wave is going to be, and we all know that it's just going to become more digital and more digital and more digital. So to the extent of where that line is, I don't exactly know. What I would say is, as I kind of think about the future and where we're going, I think it's very important to always allow your kids the freedom to embrace kind of where we're at as far as general tech levels. That said, I think you need to be very careful about the content that they consume. I think Minecraft is an excellent world of content because it is very PG and very much about using your brain and building. I'm not a big Minecrafter myself, but I know enough about it to know kind of, that it's very much about a building blocks world, and you get to create your own worlds. And as an artist, as a contractor, you get to really stimulate a lot of stuff in a kid's brain with that stuff. So I think that's very good. To the extent that, I think a lot of us have been afraid, and many parents have been afraid since, the late 70s, early 80s. What am I going to do with my kids if they're just sitting on a couch all day playing video games? What I'm really excited about is that I think we're, again, excited and terrified, I think we're not too far from having incredible virtual reality worlds that we're all going to be playing in, really kind of surrogate stuff. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I think in the not-too-distant future, nobody's going to be worried about kids being slobs playing video games anymore, because they're going to be hooked up to a deal, and they're going to be literally running around in the living room or whatever this cool playpen is that will be sold, where it's got an OmniTrack board, and they will be the most fit kids you will ever see in your entire life, because it's not just saying, hey, go to PE and run around the track. It's, hey, go and chase your buddies around in this amazing virtual world, and you're incentivized to do it because you're playing this game and you actually score points, and there's competition involved, and so you're giving kids what they want while simultaneously keeping them very.
What happened?
Enjoy technology and to play, but also still engage in the real world and not be just like weird, like, you know, slobby messes sitting in recliners like in Pixar. Like, I can't. That would be a really tragic future, I think.
That would be.
Into the prediction.
And by the way, and might I add to all that, since we're talking about stuff like this,
Go for it.
diet. Stop feeding your kids a bunch of sugar. Anyone and everyone out there, it is killing them. Okay, that's all. I'll get off my.
Go for water.
Soapbox.
Let's
Sugar
go.
is the enemy. I'll get off my sugar. All right.
Let's go to Kristen for a question. And remember, hashtag I want my Nerd HQ now.
Oh yeah, Kristen.
Zach, Nerd HQ is known for connecting fans with their favorite actors, but not everybody is lucky enough to be able to attend. In what ways will fans following along at home be able to experience that same sort of connection?
Like I was saying before, I mean, the panels, every single panel that we do, we live stream for free to the world, to everyone in the world. I mean, obviously, you know, some people might be sleeping during that time period, but once it's live streamed, it's then immediately cached right onto the Nerd Machines YouTube channel, or wherever that might live, depending on if we are able to get like a cool media sponsor with us this year for HQ, and it might live on their site first and then on ours, or whatever. Everyone will know where it will live. But to me, I feel like that's an incredible way to always kind of be up to date with not only what we're doing, but being able to actually engage in what we're doing at the same time. This year we're going to finally, we've talked about it for years, there's so many things to try, so many fires to put out, and so many things we're always trying to accomplish that some things always kind of fall through the cracks. But this year we're going to also be integrating questions from the online audience. So no matter where you are, you'll still have a chance at being able to ask myself or Nathan or Tom or whoever ends up being our panelist this year something, you know, a question that's burning a hole in your pocket or your head or your heart or whatever. And then also we have a bunch of other supplementary content, interviews with everyone who does our panels, a lot of other kind of interactive things that go on. I would love to try and do something where the photo booths even kind of connect to people around the world, and we can take photos and like send them to them or whatever. But I'm all about connectivity, interactivity, and any and all ways that we can find to include people that just don't have the time or the means or the finances or whatever to be able to actually make it out to San Diego for that weekend, the better. The world used to be this crazy huge place that was not connected at all, and it is this now. It is this. We are all together. You can't fight it and you can't deny it, and the only thing you can do is embrace it and say, awesome. How do we connect now in one another's lives in like good and positive ways, and like fight together and initiate things together? And you know, that's what I'm excited about. I love it, and I think that's and it's changing paradigms all across the board. You know, it used to be the television used to be so disconnected because the world was so disconnected that you could roll out a season of a show, and then 5 years later you roll out that first season of a show in a whole other market somewhere in the world. But we've now realized that you just can't do that anymore because of the internet, because of spoilers, because those fans are watching it and they want to watch it at the same time. Otherwise, they can't interact with the other fans of a show on the message boards or whatever. So you don't have, you know, people don't have that luxury anymore. You have to give it to everyone. We are all together in this, you know?
Last question. This is our closing thought today. Our question comes from Pilar.
Wait, really? Closing thought?
Well, it's just
long is
at 11. You need to tell me if we can continue.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, maybe we can go a little bit longer.
You're a great talker and you're inspiring. This
I
is
know,
like,
I talk too much. I
this
told
is
you
like
I
a
talk too much.
sermon.
Come on, let's do it. Who's next?
All right,
Pilar.
let's do it. All right, so switching gears a little bit. You know, so many celebrities have the power to use their celebrity for good, their fame for good, and it's really unique. How did you get involved with Operation Smile? Is there a personal connection? You know, what about it speaks to you?
Well, as far as a personal connection, one of my best buddies growing up, when I was living in Washington State, actually was born with a cleft lip and I believe palate, So that was something even as a kid I was aware of, but in the States, you don't see anything other than an already kind of fixed procedure, which is fascinating. When I started wrapping my head around the fact that in the States, or particularly in Western culture, developed world, we don't witness the things that any other culture might witness, which is what it really looks like to have a cleft lip and a cleft palate. So I do have a personal connection to that in some way, but what really kind of brought me over to it was, as a celebrity, we do have kind of platforms of sorts, and we have certain power and cachet to our celebrity, whatever the heck that is, and so you're asked to do all kinds of crazy things like celebrity bowling or poker, or, for charity, all these various things for charity, and everyone's asking for your charity of choice every single time, and I just never had one, and part of that was because I just felt like, how can you possibly pick one cause without denying every other cause, and that weighed on my heart. I just, it's the Libra in me, I don't know what it is, but I really had a hard time denying other people help, because that's what I felt like it was, and then I kind of was getting over that, and realizing that, look, just because you pick one doesn't mean you can't help other people down the road, and I still do. I try to as much as I can, without diluting the message of what I'm trying to champion in Operation Smile. But then one week I was going to go sing at this benefit, and they were going to give money to a charity of my choice, and they were asking what it was, and I still didn't have it. And then I prayed about it, and I thought about it, and a lot, and then in like 5 days, or like over that course of the week, I saw like 5 commercials and 5 billboards, and I really felt like, it was God. I felt like it was saying, hey, I'm trying to tell you something. Shut up for a second and listen to what I'm trying to tell you. And then as I kind of recognized that, and I looked, I think I was stopped at a stoplight. I was coming home from work or on the way to work at Chuck, and I was looking up, and I saw a billboard, and it was an Operation Smile billboard, and it was like the last in this whole series. And I was like, oh, yeah, this thing I keep seeing. And then I just kind of, chewed on it. I meditated on it. I thought about it more and prayed on it more, and I was like, oh, wow, like, that's incredibly simple and powerful. Like, what a simple and yet incredibly vital thing to offer someone that they should never be denied, which is the ability to just be normal. My friend Jay Harrington, who I just did this, the second year now that we've sponsored, the Nerd Machine has sponsored this, celebrity charity ski event up in Park City. That was gangbusters this year. It was great, and we got a lot of awareness and raised a lot of money. And my buddy Jay Harrington, who's another actor I've known for years, like, he was able to come up this year, and he put it so succinctly and well in ways that I've always kind of felt about it too, but I don't know that I'd ever really thought about it in these exact words. But he was like, essentially he was saying, like, those are God-given rights for a child to be able to smile and to be happy, and that we, for $240, by the way, and the monetary kind of example is also a very, very powerful thing to me too, which is that it's $240 in 1 hour, and that changes one life forever. Not that people don't need food and water and resources for years and years to come, and there are all kinds of other things that we need to do to keep helping people, but I always found with certain resources, I found myself to be a little helpless sometimes. I felt like, well, if I give so much money to go and give these people water, they're eventually going to run out of that water, and that freaked me out. But I felt like I knew that if I could get $240 and a doctor could donate an hour, that's one life that was changed forever and would never have to be revisited and changed again and again and again. And so that empowered me, and I felt like I can go and give these kids back what is their God-given right, and I can change their lives permanently and allow them to be happy and allow them to be vibrant. And by the way, in 1 in 10 of these kids dies. They die of malnutrition, or they die of infection and disease. And so it's not just this kind of facial, what's the word, superficial thing. It's also a very real thing. Like, this is life and death for a lot of kids. And so it just struck me. It really floored me. And then I just started giving money to them. I hadn't, and then it was like a year later, I get a random call, and they're like, hey, who are you, and why are you giving us money? And I said, well, because I believe in you. And they said, well, we would love for you to be an ambassador for us. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And they said, well, it's basically what you do now. You just talk about the cause and the way that you talk about it, and you keep helping us raise money. I go, great. So nothing. So I'll just keep doing that. And they gave me this title, whatever this official title is. So, but by the way, I also kind of love it because I love being able to tell people that I am an ambassador for these guys, and I fight for them, and I care about them. And by the way, and the people themselves. This is another thing. Like there's a lot of nonprofits that, you know, it's interesting where you follow the money and you kind of see how much that goes toward infrastructure and goes toward you know, how big their how many people work for them or whatever. The money trails are always interesting depending on nonprofits. Some people have issue and some people don't, whatever. But I know that with Operation Smile, that not that there's not operating costs and they don't put money toward doing certain things that aren't specifically just operations, but I know that as much as they can, they put toward every operation. I went to Honduras on a mission. I flew myself down there. They're not flying a bunch of celebrities all around the world to go and be a part of these missions. Doctors are donating their own time. They're not being paid to go and do these things, and they are top-notch doctors from all over the world. So I hope that helped answer that question. I really believe in them. I hope that other people are inspired by them. And I'll leave it on, and I always do, if you don't feel led to go be a part of Operation Smile, go find a nonprofit, whatever that nonprofit is. I think it's so crucial for us and our happiness and our joy as individuals to be a part of something that's just bigger than us, where we can give of our heart and give of our time and make a difference in somebody's life. Because it's good. Because, by the way, even on a selfish level, it's good for you. It brings you happiness and it brings you joy, and it does something for your soul that's reparative. And so I really encourage anyone and everyone out there to just go be a part of something that's bigger. We could die tomorrow. Don't forget it.
Oh, well, I want to thank Zach for those empowering and positive thoughts. Like, that was an inspiring message. And, of course, for his nerd insights, they're always entertaining. For all of you who are watching live on this Google Plus Hangout, thank you so much for being involved. If you didn't get to ask a question, remember, Zach is always on Twitter. He's a Twitter addict, @Zachary Levi. Tweet with the hashtag #IWantMyNerdHQ. Be part of this whole campaign. Donate right now. It is super easy. IWantMyNerdHQ.com. Thank you so much to our Google Plus Hangout attendees, Dan, Jill, Kristen, Pilar. You guys rock. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys so much for coming. So appreciate it.
And thanks, Zach, for your time. We love it. We love how you can constantly connect with the fans, and you're always authentic and real, and we appreciate that.
Shira, thank you so much for helping us put all this thing together today, and thank you so much for your continued support. And God bless you all, and have a great day. And we'll all talk soon again.
I'll see you at Comic-Con, Nerd HQ. IWantMyNerdHQ.com. I'm Shira Lazar from What's Trending. See you guys later. Bye.